Do you ever wonder what your grandparents casually ate, drank, or kept in their homes? Before anyone knew those everyday items were quietly poisoning them? Back in the 1950s and 60s, America was on fire with optimism. A country obsessed with convenience, speed, and innovation, and absolutely convinced that brighter colors, bigger promises, and scientific buzzwords meant safety. People didn't just trust the grocery store. They trusted the future. And that trust, as history would show, came at a cost. 1. Red dye, number 4. The candy that glowed too bright. Back then, color meant excitement. If your soda glowed like neon gasoline, perfect. If your cake frosting was red enough to stain your soul, even better. Kids sprinted down grocery aisles grabbing cherry swirls, red gumballs, and punch mix. No one questioned what made that red so radioactive. It wasn't until scientists found rats developing tumors that parents realized those bright treats came with a dark aftertaste. Red dye. Number 4 vanished almost overnight. But the memories, the red tongues, the sticky fingers, those stayed forever. 2. Tin cans sealed with lead solder. The metal lids that popped when you opened them? The sound of dinner. Soups, beans, vegetables. The whole nation lived on canned convenience. What no one knew was that tiny flakes of lead leaked into every meal. Lead that built up quietly in children, changing behavior, development, even temperament. By the time regulators stepped in, the damage had already become part of American history. A silent poison hiding in the pantry. 3. DDT-coated produce. To your grandparents, the 1950s grocery store was spotless. Shiny apples, perfect tomatoes, flawless lettuce. A display so pristine, it looked almost painted. But that perfection came from DDT, a pesticide so persistent, so powerful, that it didn't just kill pests. It stayed in the soil, in the water, and in human bodies. Generations later, traces still linger in the environment, a ghost of a chemical we thought was a miracle. 4. Coca-Cola's energy kick. Coca-Cola wasn't just refreshing. People swore it made them feel alive. Inside some rural bottling plants, the old formulation, containing coca leaf extract, found its way into production long after it was supposedly discontinued. People said Coke gave them energy. And yes, in a way it did. Once the secret filtered out, Coke quietly changed their process for good. But the legend of the old formula never truly died. 5. Formaldehyde in milk. Imagine pouring cereal for your kids with milk preserved using the same chemical used in embalming. Producers wanted their milk looking fresh even when refrigeration was unreliable or expensive. A little formaldehyde, they said, kept things crisp and cool. The truth? Families drank that chemical for years before investigations, illnesses, and lawsuits brought the practice to light. The lesson was harsh. Not everything white and pure is harmless. 6. The trans fat miracle, butter-flavored margarine. It was sold as heart-healthy, modern, and intelligent. A scientific triumph over old-fashioned butter. But the secret behind its golden glow was the industrial hydrogenation process that created trans fats. For decades, Americans smothered toast in something that was actively harming their hearts. 7. Cyclamate, the sweetener that came with a price. It was the dieter's dream. 0 calories, 0 guilt, 0 chance it was safe. Sodas, pastries, pudding mixes, all loaded with cyclamate. Until suddenly, they weren't. Studies showed cancer risks, and cyclamate was banned almost overnight. A food fad extinguished before most people even learned how to pronounce it. 8. Raw milk. Nature's perfect food. Or not while grocery stores modernized, many rural families held on to tradition. Raw milk felt pure, wholesome, natural. But without pasteurization, it carried bacteria that caused serious illness. Tuberculosis in milk? Yes, it happened. Sometimes nature needs help, even when nostalgia says otherwise. 9. Hormone-injected super chickens. Farmers pushed the limits of growth, creating birds so large and fast-growing they barely resembled chickens anymore. People joked about giant chicken breasts. But when reports surfaced of hormonal side effects, the laughter turned nervous. The practice was eventually outlawed, but not before millions of oversized birds became part of the American diet. 10. Nitrate-packed meats. The bright pink slices of ham weren't naturally pink. They were dyed by nitrates, preservatives that stayed bright even when the truth didn't. When heated, nitrates turned into nitrosamines, a chemical linked to cancer. The picnic sandwich of the 1950s became a symbol of hidden risk. 11. BVO in fruit soda. Citrus sodas needed help staying mixed, so companies added brominated vegetable oil, a chemical cousin of flame retardants. Teens drank it daily without knowing it built up in human tissue and harmed memory, nerves, and skin. Once the truth broke, BVO vanished from ingredient lists just as quickly as it once appeared. 12. Saccharine, diet soda's first villain. Diet soda promised guilt-free sweetness, but when lab rats developed cancer, America panicked. Supermarkets dumped cans. News anchors warned of danger. The first diet scare was born. Saccharin eventually returned, but the innocence of miracle diet drinks never did. 13. Lead-painted baby bottles. Decorated with cute cartoon animals, these bottles looked adorable and toxic. Lead paint chipped easily into warm milk. By the time regulators banned it, entire generations had grown up drinking from something that looked harmless but carried a lifelong cost. 14. Asbestos, oven mitts fireproof. Durable. Deadly. Each squeeze released invisible fibers that lingered in lungs forever. A slow-moving danger hiding behind the promise of safety. 15. Mercury cooking thermometers. The shiny metal inside fascinated children, until one kitchen accident unleashed mercury vapor through an entire home. Parents shrugged off spills, never realizing the invisible cloud could damage nerves and organs for decades. 16. Benzoyl peroxide. Bleached flour. Ultra-white flour became a status symbol, but the chemical used to bleach it, also used in plastics and industrial cleaners. Bread looked perfect, but the residue left behind raised more questions than answers. 17. Lard-based frosting. Shelf-stable. Bright. Delicious. Terrible. Packed with trans fats and cholesterol, this miracle frosting made birthday cakes beautiful and contributed to heart disease. 18. Cereal boxes with toys. Inside kids dove into cereal boxes before even touching the breakfast. Plastic rings, tiny cars, and choking hazards. After too many hospital visits, the magic ended. 19. PCB-contaminated tinned fish. The oil in canned sardines and tuna was meant to preserve flavor. Instead, it preserved industrial chemicals used in electrical equipment. PCBs were linked to cancer and reproductive harm. Nobody expected a tuna sandwich to carry chemical cousins of motor oil. 20. Aerosol cheese. With CFC propellant. The cheese itself wasn't the problem. The chemical that made it spray. The same family of compounds eating a hole in the ozone layer. 21. Rejuvenique shock mask, sold as a beauty product. Felt like a horror movie prop. Burns, numbness, skin irritation, all in the name of facial toning. 22. Lead-painted toys. Fire trucks, blocks, figurines, bright, colorful, and toxic. Kids chewed on them. Parents thought nothing of it. The danger, hidden in every lick. 23. Explosive 4th of July. Kits for kids. You could buy fireworks at a gas station with pocket money. No warnings, no supervision, just excitement and burns. 24. 1960s. Hair dryers. With no insulation. Wet hair. Water nearby. Exposed wires. It was a miracle more people didn't electrocute themselves. 25. Candy cigarettes. They weren't just candy, they were training. Kids puffed sugar clouds mimicking adults before they were old enough to spell nicotine. 26. Playground equipment built over concrete metal slides hot enough to fry skin. Monkey bars, 2 stories high. And below? Asphalt. No padding. No helmets. Just childhood in its most dangerous form. 27. Radathor. Radioactive energy water. Sold as a cure-all. Contained radium. Yes, radium. Teeth fell out. Bones dissolved. And yet, people swore they felt stronger. The truth came too late. 28. Bag of glass toy kit. Born as a joke. Sold as a product. And exactly as unsafe as it sounds. Kids playing with fake shards, and sometimes real ones. Short-lived, but unforgettable. 29. Car phones with zero safety. A phone in your car felt futuristic. But the radiation, the distraction, and the giant antenna made calling someone feel like contacting Mars. 30. Polystyrene cup. Noodle warmers. People put foam noodle cups directly on gas flames to keep the soup hot. The result? Melting plastic? Toxic fumes. Kitchen fires. And yet, everyone did it. These forgotten grocery items and household products weren't created to hurt anyone. They were created in an era that trusted progress blindly. Today, we're more cautious, more skeptical, more informed. But sometimes looking back reminds us how quickly innovation can become dangerous history. If this dive into America's hidden past sparked your curiosity, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss a journey into the strange, risky, and unforgettable world of yesterday's inventions. This is the Rewind Vault, keeping forgotten history alive.